So Malcolm Fraser was staying at the resort, Lizard Island Resort, and he came with a minder who was obviously a naval diver. I presume he had a gun or something in his bag or something. We had an American who came with us, and he said, "I can't believe you can get this close to the Prime Minister." I said, well, fine. Anyhow, we gave him, and at the stage we had to go and look at some moorings out on the outer barrier. This was Barry Godman, who was then the director of Lizard Island Research Station, and myself. And we said, we're going to look at these moorings, which were collecting long-term data sets on ocean currents for CSIRO. And then we'll come back to one of the blue holes, where it's a really nice, safe place to dive. And we gave Malcolm Fraser a bit of a lesson. And we got him in the water, and he had a Nikonos, and he took some photos. And remember, this was before we had the David Attenboroughs of the world. You couldn't just turn on the television and watch these amazing footages. Anyhow, we had some dives, or a dive, and then on the way back to the research station, he managed to pour us a gin and tonic. And I can remember Fraser saying to me, "Oh, you're based in Canberra?" I said, "No, the National Museum of Australia hasn't yet been built. I work at this," and I explained why the Australian Museum was called the Australian Museum, even though we were based in Sydney. Anyhow, he thanked us very much. We were actually on the boat from the resort, so that's why the gin and tonic was available. Anyhow, the next morning we saw him walking along the beach, and his camera, the film had got stuck, and so we took it into the dark room and we rewound it and everything. Anyhow, I know that there was a cabinet meeting a few days later, and he actually showed those photos he took around the cabinet to show. And as I say, then the Australian next week nominated the GBR for the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area. I think the situation has changed today, but I think face-to-face meetings are still so important. I think you've only got to see it when you take a group of people around the collections, or even show them live material of worms. I mean, worms are not, a lot of people say, "Ooh, what are those?" And yet when we've had open days here, and then you say, "Okay, could you look at these animals?" And then when they actually see these live worms, a lot of them are brightly coloured. Okay, once they're fixed, they don't look quite so exciting. But people can see once you can explain to somebody why it's important. And I think I often use that concept of, look at what's in your compost heap, how important that is. So that I think it is important for us to communicate to the public, but also to the powers that be.